What it is, it's your guy Neo back again with another video, and today we are reviewing the shock boxes from limited run for the Neo Geo AES cartridges. Now, mind you, I have done some pretty extensive testing, as you're going to see in this video right now, where I've kind of done a side-by-side comparison from an authentic, legit Neo Geo AES shock box, snap case, snap lock, whatever you want to call it, that came from back in the early 90s and early 2000s with those, and compared it to today's shock box that limited run is shipping out to all of us out here. So for $79.99 you can get a case of 4 of these. I ended up ordering 2 cases. Now, was it worth it? Yes and no. So my original thought process on this was, I have a lot of older Neo Geo games that have the old soft case, the leather binding case or box instead of the snap case. I thought maybe I can convert these. Completely lost train of thought in terms of forgetting that the inserts from the soft cases are actually a little bit larger than the inserts that were printed for the shock boxes. So where let's say for instance, puzzled that I have showcased here, a puzzled insert would not fit inside of a shock box from limited run, and it also won't fit into a regular shock box that was produced by S&K back in the early 90s. Now, I completely spaced this out. That was my bad, and that was originally my plan of ordering these. So what's the use case? Why do we want these? Well, over time, these games are getting older. We're over 20 years plus now. Sometimes these shock boxes the snap case will start to wind down from being opened so many times, and they'll snap. In this particular case, I was thinking about shifting some of the other games that I had in brittle soft cases that would have been really nice to have, but in this particular case, it's not going to work. Looking at the binding on this, I would say that in terms of, is it a apples to apples comparison in terms of shock box versus shock box? No, it is not. There is more texture on the clear coat of the clear film on the front, back, side of the spine of the shock box from S&K, and then limited runs version is a little bit clearer. It's a clearer film, not as reflective against light, etc. Take with that as you will. In terms of the stitching on the sides of the shock box, basically the stitching that goes from the plastic to the actual case itself, it is a different pattern. In terms of the embroidery of the S&K, this is actually on the opposite facing of the box itself. So in this particular case, generally on a classic shock box, we would have the cartridge, and normally under that cartridge, collectors generally put some kind of paper towel, some bubble wrap, some styrofoam under there, so that way that the embroidered S&K inside the shock box doesn't scratch the back of that AES cartridge, which is fine. We've come notice that, and if you're new to this and if you're new to collecting AES games, you may pick up something off of eBay, Facebook, wherever, and you'll open it up and say, well, what's this plastic here for? That's what it's there for, to protect against that AES, or to protect against that S&K embroidery and keep the cartridge from getting scratched up. However, they put this on the front portion of the inside of the case, meaning that instead of putting it under the cartridge, we would now either put the manual on top to protect it, or put some bubble wrap on top of the manual and the cartridge, which is what I would do personally with this, to protect against scratching that S&K. Also, another thing to note here, some of the design features are a little bit different. The engravings on the side where it says S&K, it just says S&K on the limited run version. Of course, on the official shock box from S&K, it's going to say S&K made in Japan, but these shock boxes from Limited Run are made in China, so of course it's not going to say made in Japan there. In terms of quality, plastics, materials, there is some subtle differences. There is a little bit more wiggle room inside of the shock box from Limited Run, not by much, but there is a little bit. In terms of quality, overall, will this protect your cartridges? Yes, it will. So if you're coming across, let's say, a loose cart and you're out and about game hunting and you're like, well, it costs me too much to purchase the full complete version with manual insert, all that, but I found a cartridge for like 40 bucks. It makes sense for me to put it in one of these and protect it, and maybe just print off some kind of, you know, crazy insert from online and just put it in there as a placeholder or whatnot. You could do it that way too. So there's going to be probably 2 or 3 buying situations here. So for my die-hard Neo Geo collectors, this probably doesn't make the most sense for you, generally because you want it to be as authentic as possible, meaning that you would rather source an authentic shock box to replace or add more to your collection, which is completely understandable, especially if you're trying to make sure that everything in terms of being legit is there, especially if you're one of those individuals that likes to pick up multiple AES games a year or multiple times a year, and then you kind of had your fill of the game and then you resell it and then you go through the cycle again. Yes, there's folks out there that do that. On the other hand, you could be number 2, where you have those individuals that I don't need all the completeness, I just want the cartridge, but I want those cartridges to be protected and I don't just want them hanging loose around in my game room. This would be the particular case that you would want to go with this as well. And then third is if you run into a scenario where, let's say for instance, you're not super crazy on being a completionist, but you have a great collection, or you're building a collection, and let's say one of your shock boxes goes out of kaput. It breaks, it snaps, whatever. The bindings are going out, the plastic is worn down and torn, or what have you, and you just want something new and you're not too worried about it. This would probably be a good thing for you. Do I see someone going out and buying multiple bundles of these so they can complete the entire collection and have new shock boxes across the board? Probably not. If this was in one of those scenarios, if Limited Run decided to do a 2.0 version where this would allow inserts from the soft cases to fit in a shock box style, but it would be just maybe a little bit wider, a little bit taller, what have you, I think that would be awesome. I think that would be cool. Me personally, a lot of my soft cases right now, the inside of those plastics are getting really brittle, and sourcing some of the authentic soft cases really are coming hard to come. They're really hard to come by nowadays, and people are asking a lot of money for authentic ones. Now you can always go and source some, you know, third-party ones, kind of like what we got going on here with Limited Run. But all in all, I would say protecting your cartridges is the main focus. Of course, the inserts as well. Shock boxes overall have stood the test of time. One of the best boxes for protecting inserts, manuals, cartridges, as long as you're not doing anything outside of the norm besides putting it on a shelf somewhere. So there's that. So have you had a chance to take a look at these? Did you know about these? I'm dropping a description down below. Mind you, Limited Run did not send these out to me. I paid for these with my own money. I'm going to give unbiased feedback in terms of, is this worth it? Is this worth the money? I would say in my particular case, it really wasn't. That's just me. I thought that I had a momentary lapse of memory in terms of inserts fitting in certain boxes, so that's completely my bad. Now I do have one or two shock boxes in my collection that are really rough and can probably be replaced. So what my plan is to, if I just want to make sure that the insert and cartridge and everything is pretty tidy and working as intended, what I'll do is I'll swap the inserts, cartridge, and put it in one of these, And then in terms of that other shock box, I won't throw it away. I'll just put it away in storage. So that way, if, let's say, for instance, I trade up and find a better copy in mint condition, then I can put that cartridge manual insert back in its original case and then trade it or sell it that way. That's just my thought process on it. So, do you plan on getting these for your collection? Do you need these for any of your AES cartridges that might be loose? Comment down below, let me know. And as always, collect and play the way that you want to collect and play your games. And I'll check you next time. Peace.